this refers to amount or the volume, I think it's reasonable to recommend at least 3 to 5 sets per week per muscle group, as far as a sort of floor of like, look, how much resistance training do you need to really do in order to generate some sort of fitness and health related adaptations? I suspect there is a very vulnerable, very adaptable group out there that could get away with like 1 set per muscle group per week, but I suspect that that sort of improvement is going to peter out relatively quickly at 1 set per week, and that's why 3 to 5 sets per week per muscle group is probably the low end of what I would probably want to see somebody do. And then for more trained individuals or folks with more time, I think a more aggressive sort of recommendation would be 10 to 15 sets per week if you can get that much in. For me, I counted how many squat pattern sets I had last week, and I was at 27. So that's not a flex. Like there are people out there doing far more than that, and there are people who are much stronger than me doing less than that. So just that's just what I did last week. But just as a comparison, as sort of like what I'd be thinking about from a in a time crunch setting versus like unlimited time, it's about half really of what I'm currently doing. Does that kind of jive with your experience?
Yeah, I think my highest periods of training volume for myself probably had a bit less, working sets than what you expose yourself to, at least these days, and that was just kind of what I gravitated to in terms of what was necessary for me at that period of time. There's also going to be some trade-off in terms of the number of sets that somebody might need to progress outside of just individual factors, but how close they're taking them to failure. If somebody's pulling like one all-out set of deadlifts to failure, they can probably do that once a week. Of course, how much progress that's going to lead to and for how long, as you alluded, might not be for very long necessarily. But if the goal is not necessarily progress, but maintenance during a period of severe time crunch, then I would totally take like one real hard set a week of something. You could probably maintain quite a lot of strength for a long time, in that on average in people.
Yeah, yeah, 1 hard set per week, fine. That's certainly better than nothing.
Yeah,
But then if you got to choose, you'd be like,
yeah,
maybe a little bit more than that, and then
yeah,
you would keep going that down that road until you
right.
ran out of time. That's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
again general heuristic. And then lastly, on amount, as far as conditioning goes, I'd at least like to see folks getting 150 minutes per week of conditioning exercise, so cardio activity. If somebody said, "Look, that's a non-starter for me right off the jump. I do not have an extra, 2.5 hours per week just to do on conditioning plus lifting weights,"